The bell above the door of First Citizens Bank jingled, announcing the arrival of Clara Higgins. Clara was 74, and she looked every day of it. She was wrapped in a woolen coat that had been fashionable during the Reagan administration, now pilled and smelling faintly of mothballs and damp earth. On her feet were heavy rubber muck boots, caked with the fresh mud of a spring thaw. She carried a reusable canvas grocery bag that had seen better days, clutching it to her chest as if it held the crown jewels. She shuffled toward the loan officer's desk, leaving a faint trail of dried mud flakes on the pristine marble floor. Sitting behind the mahogany desk was Bradley P. Miller. Bradley was 26, fresh out of business school, and wore a suit that cost more than Clara's first car. He was busy typing on his phone, likely checking his fantasy football stats, and didn't look up until Clara cleared her throat for the third time. "Can I help you?" Bradley asked, his tone hovering somewhere between annoyance and amusement. He scanned her outfit, his eyes lingering on the safety pin holding her coat collar together. "I'd like to apply for a small loan," Clara said softly. Her voice was raspy, like dry leaves skittering on pavement. $5,000. My tractor needs a new transmission, and spring planting is next week." Bradley leaned back in his ergonomic chair, a smirk playing on his lips. "A loan? For a tractor?" He laughed, a short, sharp bark. "Ma'am, this is a commercial bank, not a pawn shop. We have strict lending criteria, credit scores, collateral, debt-to-income ratios." "I have collateral," Clara said, reaching into her canvas bag. "Let me guess," Bradley interrupted, holding up a hand. "Your grandmother's silver? A collection of ceramic cats? Look, I'm going to save us both some time. We don't do microloans for hobby farms. There's a payday lender down on 4th Street. They deal with—" He waved his hand vaguely at her coat. "Your demographic." Clara went very still. The air in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. "My demographic?" "People who are liquidity challenged," using a corporate buzzword to mask his disdain. "Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a meeting with a premium client in 10 minutes. He turned back to his computer screen, effectively dismissing her. Clara stood there for a long moment. She didn't yell, she didn't cry. She simply nodded, a slow, deliberate movement. "I see," she said. "Well, I certainly wouldn't want to waste a busy man's time." She turned and walked over to the teller line. The head teller, a woman named Sarah who had worked there for 30 years, looked up and smiled nervously. Sarah knew exactly who Clara was. She had watched the interaction with Bradley, her face pale. "Mrs. Higgins," Sarah whispered, "I am so sorry. He's new. He's from the city. He doesn't know." "It's fine, Sarah," Clara said, her voice loud enough for Bradley to hear across the quiet lobby. "He was very clear. This bank is for premium clients, and since I don't fit the dress code, I think it's best if I take my business elsewhere." "Mrs. Higgins, please," Sarah stammered. "Close it out, Sarah," Clara said firmly. "All of it." I can't do that at the counter, ma'am," Sarah said, her eyes darting to Bradley. "For an account of your size, I need a manager's override." Bradley sighed loudly from his desk. He stood up and marched over, buttoning his jacket. "What is the problem here? Is she refusing to leave?" "She wants to close her account, sir," Sarah said, stepping back. "She wants a cashier's check for the full balance." Bradley rolled his eyes. "Fine, if it gets her out of the lobby." He typed his passcode into Sarah's terminal. "How much is it? $50? $100? He hit enter to bring up the profile for Clara Higgins, Higgins Family Trust. Bradley froze. He blinked, thinking there was a smudge on the screen. He took off his glasses, wiped them, and put them back on. The number hadn't changed. $12,450,000 and 0 cents. The blood drained from Bradley's face so fast he looked like he might faint. He stared at the number, then at the woman in the muddy boots, then back at the number. This is a glitch," he whispered. "It's not a glitch," Sarah said quietly, enjoying the moment. Mrs. Higgins owns the Higgins Orchard and the land the new shopping mall is built on, and the mineral rights to half the county. She's been with this branch since 1968. Bradley turned to Clara. His arrogance evaporated, replaced with a look of sheer, unadulterated terror. He knew the regional manager watched deposit retention like a hawk. Losing a $12 million account would be a career-ending event. "Mrs. Higgins," Bradley choked out, his voice cracking, I think there's been a terrible misunderstanding. I didn't realize, looking at your situation." "Looking at my clothes," you corrected him, her eyes sharp as flint. "You saw an old woman in a dirty coat and assumed I was worthless. You judged the book by the cover, young man." "I can approve that loan right now," Bradley stammered, sweating profusely. 0% interest. We can call it a community investment. I'll handle the paperwork myself." Clara smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Oh, I don't need the loan, Mr. Miller. I could buy the tractor factory if I wanted to. I just like to keep my credit active. It's a habit." She tapped her fingers on the counter. "Now, the check, please. The bank across the street, the one with the manager who opens the door for people regardless of their shoes, is expecting a large deposit." "Please," Bradley begged, actually grabbing the edge of the counter. "My boss will kill me." "Then you should have thought about that before you told me to go to a payday lender," Clara said. 10 minutes later, Clara Higgins walked out of First Citizens Bank. She was still wearing her pilled wool coat. She was still wearing her muddy boots, but in her reusable grocery bag, tucked between a carton of milk and a bag of apples, was a check for over $12 million. As the door closed behind her, the phone on Bradley's desk began to ring. It was the regional manager, and Bradley knew, with a sinking feeling in his gut, that he was about to become liquidity challenged himself.